Hello, thank you for tuning in to this presentation on tips to realize your business dreams. I recommend that you pause the video here while you get paper and pen so you can take notes. You'll thank me later for asking you to do this. I hope you will find the information offered here helpful. Leave me a comment to let me know, and I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos that may be of interest to you. Let's start by having you think about people whom you admire. This is my list. Yours will certainly be different. But take a moment to write down on your paper a few people whom you admire. You may admire people we have never heard of. You may admire a local shopkeeper, elected official, or religious person you know. Try to list 4 or 5 people on your list. Next to their name, note in just a few words why you admire them. Perhaps they are kind to you, or dress well, or are generous with their donations to charity. Perhaps they are reliable and dependable. Maybe you admire the job they do in the government or how they help others. Maybe you admire how well they care for their family. One thing we can agree on is that your list is comprised of successful people. And how do we define success? The accomplishment of a goal or purpose. They're all successful people. They are successful in a variety of fields. They are standouts. They've made their mark in their respective fields. Most got to where they are by being clear on their goals. They were willing to adjust those goals based on their experiences and improved understanding. So what do they have that you don't have yet? Stay tuned, we're going to look at that. Successful people have a vision, and they work really hard to realize that vision. They take the necessary steps to achieve their goals, and they work really hard. They work really, really hard. You may already have a vision and work hard toward your goal, but is it getting you closer to your goals? If not, is it time to revisit your vision? Is it time to work smarter? Let's take a look at what you can do to be more successful. Your vision guides your day-to-day activities and work. You will either be moving forward towards your vision or you will be moving away from it. Your vision needs to be clear and compelling. It needs to be creative and important to you. It must be your vision, not someone else's vision for your life. It's your life. You get to decide how to live it. Write your vision down. You don't have to share it with anybody, but it should be in a place where you can look at it frequently, preferably every day. Your vision is what drives your hard work. Let's do a little exercise on vision work. So here's a vision someone has. It says, I will be rich one day. But this vision has some problems, and let's take a look at some of them. First, how do you define rich? Rich means different things to different people. Rich in the United States is different from rich in Sierra Leone or Rwanda. It is important to be specific for your country, your culture, and for you. Second, what are you willing to do to get rich? Will you only do legal activities, or do you want to get rich quick and engage in illegal activities, which I do not recommend? Engaging in illegal activities usually leads to one of two places, the prison or the cemetery. You will not be able to enjoy your money if you wind up at either of those places. And finally, how will you know when you are rich? Is there a dollar amount you're trying to achieve? A better vision would be one that identifies specific, tangible goals. Let's take a look. This vision is actually my vision that I'm working on this year. Let's look at the elements of it. My vision is I will live in an off-grid house built with plastic waste or plastic bricks by the end of 2023. So one of the things that you notice is that there's a specific outcome. There is a time limit on this vision. And it's a realistic timeline. If I said I wanted to live in this house by next week, that's ridiculous because construction takes a long time and often there are delays. It's also reasonable. It's reasonable because of the homework that I've done. I know what it's going to take to do it. And finally, I will know when it's achieved because the house will exist. So let's look at the elements of smarter goals. And of course, we set goals to achieve our vision. First of all, the goal needs to be specific. It needs to be simple, sensible, and important to you. It also needs to be measurable so that you can determine, did I achieve what I set out to do or not? And it needs to be achievable. If you say, well, I'm going to fly to the moon next month, that is not something that's going to happen. It needs to be relevant, needs to be reasonable, realistic. Again, something that's doable. And it needs to be time bound. There need to be deadlines and it needs to be timely. Some people do set goals far off into the future, but if you can set a goal that's no more than 5 years, that's probably a good thing to do. The other thing that you need to do is you're going to periodically evaluate what's happening in your work towards your goal with the idea to be able to answer the question, is what I'm doing working? And after your evaluation, you'll need to review and possibly revise your goal because stuff happens in life. An important thing for you to do is to identify mentors, investors, and advisors. No one person knows everything, but if you get information from people who do know a little bit about what you're trying to do, you're going to be better able to achieve your goals. And what you need to do, and really think about it, is you need to know who to ask. You need to be able to listen. You need to be able to evaluate what they are telling you. You need to plan, and you need to act. And so let's take a quick look at the difference between mentors, advisors, and investors. So mentors are people who can give you information and possible access to their networks to help you make those connections to achieve your goals. Advisors, on the other hand, generally just provide you with information and maybe some guidance. They'll give you advice on what they think you should do. Investors are people with the money, the resources, and the connections. And if you're to the point that you're approaching an investor, you have to make sure your presentation is tight, that you have a mastery of the proposal that you're making, and you're able to answer any questions they may have with really good answers. Each and every person is going to encounter roadblocks as they work to achieve their goals. The key is how you deal with them. And here are some things you might want to consider. First, avoid the naysayers. You may have a dream and you may have a negative cousin who tries to dissuade you from that. No, you can't open a barber shop. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have the money. Avoid those people. You don't have to be rude, but that's probably not someone you want to talk to because they're pouring water on your dreams. The other thing is to expect unfair criticism. There are people who are going to say things that are not fair, that illustrate that they don't have a good understanding of what you're trying to do. Expect it and don't let it devastate you. Also, it's important to anticipate and prepare for setbacks because they will happen. So things like putting some funds away for a rainy day in case you run low on funds, or stockpiling supplies in case so that you don't run low on those, because of some labor dispute or supply chain problems. And realize that setbacks are usually temporary. They don't last forever. We have a saying in the United States, this too shall pass. And that's a good thing to remember when you're dealing with a setback or a roadblock. And also realize that they're a learning opportunity. Take a look at what's in your way. Notice how you figure out how to deal with that. That's a learning opportunity. That's an important lesson that you can use later on. Well, I've tried to give you a few little tidbits to help you get on your way and think about how to achieve your business goals. But you have to do the rest. And you need to know that even though I'll share with you some things that you need to do, what I'm sharing with you is incomplete. This is a learning experience. Embrace it. So let's look at your partial to-do list. One is that it's important for you to learn how to cultivate relationships. You need to learn how to talk to people, how to be engaging with people, how to learn what they're about, what's their life story, briefly, what's shaped them to be the person that they are. These are some of the ways that you begin to cultivate relationships. 2, you need to learn how to ask for appropriate help. So if you're needing a $100,000 loan from the bank, don't go to Aunt Tilly and ask her, because Aunt Tilly needs that money for her retirement. You've got to know how to ask for help in the appropriate way and ask for appropriate help. Don't expect one person to do the work for you. You've got to do the work of identifying sources of assistance. 3, learn how to research answers. You'll have questions. For example, you may want to learn more about how to cultivate relationships. You can go on Google. Google University is pretty good, and you can find answers to some of your questions. So learn how to research answers. You may want to, if you're starting a restaurant, you may want to know how long do most restaurants last. I think in the United States, the last figure I heard was 5 years, and then they go bust. So you may want to figure out why. And once you figure out why, then you can apply those lessons so that you don't meet the same fate. And 4, really important, find or create your support network. People who understand what you're trying to do, and even if they don't understand what you're trying to do, they will at least support you and not discourage you. They're there to share the ups and downs of this work with. Those people are very important. So those of you who've seen other videos of mine know that I love to share resources so that you can do your own research, check and verify what it is I'm saying. And I just think it's a good habit to have. So here are a few resources for you to take a look at. These are just a few references that I use to make this video. On YouTube, Steve Harvey visited Jamaica and gave a really comprehensive presentation to an audience there. And I think it's worth your while to take a listen to, even if you don't know who Steve Harvey is. He's a very successful television personality and comedian who has risen from nothing to being very, very wealthy. So if that's your interest, he's a good guy to listen to. Several other sites for you to take a look at are Better Up. Of course, Google to do searches for whatever you need more information on, and mindtools.com. Thanks so much, guys. And finally, I want to thank Dr. Maisha Gillens for her comments and contributions to this presentation. Good luck, everybody. You can do this.